Okay, down here in my home gym in the basement, and making a video today that I have been wanting to make for a long time, but just haven't had the time to. And it's going to be about everything that I do to build legs. And so, you know, if you're just kind of the average gym goer, don't really worry about growing really large legs, or you're not that serious about it, you'll probably find this video pretty boring, because I'm going to go over everything that I've learned about building legs for the past, I think, 16 years that I've been working out. I made myself a little list here to go by, so it's not going to be anything professional or anything like that. But I made this so I wouldn't miss anything, and I'm probably going to say a lot too. But if you watch the video completely to the end, which I'm thinking it's going to be, fairly long. I don't know what the minutes say down there, because I've not made it yet. But if you are serious about leg growth and you struggle with leg growth, I advise you to watch the whole video and do everything that I've found. Coming from a guy that has struggled with building legs my entire time that I've been into bodybuilding, and then making it to a point that I'm now having to hold back my legs because they're kind of getting a little bit out of proportion with my upper body. And they're now getting where my pants before, they'd always be tight in the butt and loose in the legs. Now they're getting tighter in the legs than they are in the butt, and it's kind of, I'm kind of looking ridiculous. So I'm kind of, for the first time in my life, I'm kind of holding my legs back to let the rest of me grow. And so that's one reason I feel like I kind of qualify to make a video like this, because legs does not come easy to me at all. So if you talk to somebody that has a body part that they have made grow, even though they have a genetic disadvantage to it, it's they've likely found a good method to do it. So that being said, what's next on my list? I want to tell about what the things I use first when doing squat or doing legs. And that is, first thing I'd recommend is a flat shoe like this one. It's just I don't know what kind it is, Adidas, I don't even know, but anyhow, it's kind of like what do they call them? I don't even remember. Jump higher, run faster, whatever the shoe is. But anyhow, the sole, the heel in this shoe is the same thickness as the toe in it. So when you're standing in it, you're standing completely flat-footed, instead of, say, on an arc, on an angle like this, like a running shoe would be. And the reason you want that is the more you can rock your feet back, the more it focuses toward like the middle of the leg, the more of the entire leg. Because when you're kind of on your toes, it hits more around the knees and puts a lot of stress on the knees. And it doesn't seem like all that big a deal, but the first day that I did legs in these shoes, a tremendous difference. I could feel it so much more in my thighs. And the other good thing about these, they have a really thin sole. You wouldn't want to run in these shoes at all. They have it's just like that 1/4 inch thick. So the reason that is good is it gives you can lift more, push harder with a thin sole, because what like something like a running shoe does, it has like lots of padding. It's essentially what you're doing, to a lesser extent, is if you can imagine doing squats standing on a mattress. You know, how much weight do you think you'd be able to lift? Because, you know, the mattress will be bouncing, you know, your ankles will be unstable, as opposed to just standing on solid ground. I know if you see pictures of Arnold in the past, sometimes they're doing squats with, you know, bare feet, and that's the reason why. And that's essentially what, like a running shoe or a really thick padded shoe will do. You know, it's not essentially being on a mattress, but it's, to a lesser extent, it's doing the same thing. So you want a thin soled shoe with a low heel, you know, just flat bottom, you know, like a, you know, pancake flat. That'll make a big difference in, you know, I wouldn't go back to working legs with a regular running shoe at all. I'd just do it barefooted if I had to, if I didn't have those shoes. But other than that, I use a lifting belt, which this thing is dirt cheap. I think I got it at Walmart. It's not nothing. It's not no Olympic lifting belt. I've had leather belts with buckles in the past, and a lot of times I end up breaking them. They're really, to me, they're really bad, especially when you start getting lean. You know, if you're going to do a contest or something, the leaner you get, I have it start digging into my pelvis. Just really bad pain when I go down deep in a squat. So I've tried to, you know, get a better belt because this thing just looks so flimsy, but I always go back to this one because it just feels more comfortable, and I can, it's got Velcro strap on it, so I can cinch it down as tight as I want to, which is pretty important, you know, when you're doing a lot of weight. But as far as like equipment goes, that's about it for squats. And next I have on my list that I feel like is really important, I have 10 things here, is really deep squats. And I'm talking as deep as you can go, you know, past parallel. And this is something I see really often in a gym. People are just not doing squats deep enough, and you know, they're not even going parallel. You know, and I know why they do that is because they can do more weight. You know, once you break that parallel point, the amount of weight that you can get back up with goes way down. So the next would be foot placement. How I find where my feet need to be. But you know, before I do squats, and essentially I'm talking about all squats here. You know, this because that's probably the main one that people avoid because of you know, they're pretty much the hardest exercise I think to do. You know, because you have to learn how to do them. Basically, like you know, riding a bike. You can't just do them. You probably won't do them right the first day you do them. And that's one reason I would say learn how to do it, get your form down, and make sure you're doing squats right before you worry about going up in weight. You know, learn them first, and you know, even if you don't even count them as sets, go in there, practice your squats. You know, know how it feels to do them right, and then go on with your leg workout with leg press or whatever else you want to do. But I wouldn't be going to maximum weight with squats until, you know, you was doing them proper, because you can really hurt yourself, you know, hurt your back and knees and everything. But I was on foot placement, and how I don't know where I read this, but it's worked for me, of how to find the proper place to put your feet. And what I read was, you just got a regular chair, which I got a chair out of the kitchen. You just sit down in that chair, don't look at your feet, just sit down in your natural, you know, like you're just going to be sitting and talking to somebody, your natural position. And then stand up without using your hands. And now look down where your feet are. And, you know, from what I was told, that is your natural hip placement or hip alignment. You know, my right foot, it's always, every time I do that, my right foot is a little forward of my left foot. And, you know, my feet are probably a foot, maybe 13 inches apart. And so you want to remember what that looks like. And when you know, step back from the squat rack, you know, look down and replicate that. And that's supposedly, for me, that's really comfortable, because supposedly that is where your hips are most in line. And you know, you're not putting yourself in some kind of a bind when you're doing squats. So next I said flexibility of the hamstrings and calves. And when I said that, it was the calves probably first. If you ever seen somebody first, you know, the first day they do squats, and as soon as they go down, they'll see, you know, when they go down, their feet start rising up on their toes, you know, and you know, sometimes it's like 4 or 5 inches off of the ground, but you want to be able to keep your foot planted flat on the ground. And the reason their heel is rising is their calves are inflexible. They're not stretched enough. So until you get those calves stretched out, you're not going to be able to keep your foot flat and go all the way down to deep past parallel squats. And everybody, you know how to stretch their calves, you know, lean up against something and press, you know, extend their back leg while they're pressing, and just continually try to go farther and farther back to stretch, you know, to stretch the calf out. And hamstrings is something I had to learn the hard way of why hamstrings need to be flexible. You know, I've kind of caused a little twinge in my left side of my back because of not doing this. And I advise anybody not to go past parallel until they can get their hamstrings stretched out. But the reason being, if your hamstrings are not limber enough, when you go so far down, the hamstring, you know, it stretches from the back of the knee, you know, and it attaches up into the hip. Well, when it stretches so far from the middle to the knee, and you keep going down, and it's having to stretch and stretch. If it can't stretch anymore, well, the next thing to do is it pulls your pelvis in, like it tucks your tailbone. And when it does that, it bends the lower back. And I went through months of, you know, deep squats was hurting my lower back, and I didn't know why. I had people watching me, you know, to make sure I was keeping my lower back arched. And so I had to, you know, read everything about it, and I found something online about something about powerlifting, and you know, and lower back pain, and it was absolutely my hamstrings. I didn't stretch at all. They was making my tailbone tuck, you know, my hips rock forward. So I started working on getting my hamstrings stretched, you know, more limber, and the back pain went away. So I always stretch my hamstrings. And when I say, you know, limber, what would be limber enough? I would say if you can't put your palms, you know, bend over like you're going to touch your toes. If you can't put your palms on the ground flat, I would not go past parallel until my hamstrings was that limber. That's pretty much the right spot for me to keep me from having lower back pain. So, forgot what I was going with. I need to go back to deep squats. Why do deep squats? I forgot something. I trying to get in a little bit into people's mind, you know, of why they might think not going deep enough or past parallel is important, simply because I kind of used to think this way as well. So I made a little drawing of what might be going on in somebody's head to why they would think just going down, you know, a little bit, you know, and coming back up is good enough. You know, they might say, well, I feel it in my legs, and so they think, you know, straining their leg is good enough. And I made this drawing. Hope you can see it here. Which I know this isn't exactly what people think, but I kind of made like a little Terminator leg, you know, with the hydraulic pistons going up. And say this is extend the calf, this is to extend the leg out, and this is to bend the leg back. I kind of think, maybe they think that the muscle is just like that. It's just like a piston. That as long as I strain that piston, then it's going to grow. You know, so really, as long as I'm putting some force into it, that's going to grow. This is going to grow. This is going to grow, and my leg's going to be bigger. But that's not necessarily true. Which I know you know that, but don't, you know, to give you an idea of what I'm trying to get at, this is actually what the leg looks like, you know, with no skin on it. I believe it says 13 muscles from the waist down to the knee, you know, all in the leg right here. And why I'm showing you this is the going all the way down. Like, if you don't go all the way down, all of these muscles are not going to get maximum overload, which is what builds, you know, the muscle. It has to be use as much force as it can, you know, to make it adapt and grow. So as the leg is going down, I showed like there's a front part too, like the legs, that's a front and back of how many muscles are in there. But the reason I show you this is, like, these muscles, they're not all straining the same amount. Like when you're going down or up in a squat, not every one of these is straining the same amount at the same time. It's like they kind of work in series. So as you're going down, you know, it's more kind of, I'm assuming the way it feels to me, up at the top it's more of the around the knee, and then more you go down, it feels like the muscles in the center of the thigh start straining. And as you go down, like past parallel, you really feel it in the glutes, you feel it in the hamstrings. You can tell a big difference, like if you do completely, you know, deep squats, past parallel squats. That's the big difference, where you didn't feel squats in the hamstrings and deep in the muscle. You will feel it here. So that's why I'm saying to make all of these and these and these strain as much as these are, you need to do a full squat when you're doing them, past parallel. And so that's what I'm trying to get at, why it's really important. You're not going to be able to do near as much weight, but that doesn't matter. As long as you're pushing as hard as you can with the right amount of weight, that's what matters. You know, as long as if it's you know, if you can do 4 to 6 reps with rock bottom squats, you can't do any more than 6, then that's enough weight. And it doesn't matter, you know, what other people think you should be, if you should be using more weight. I mean, I think I went my first year, or not my first year, but probably 3 years into it of doing squats. I was at I think 450. You know, I had 450 on my back, but I was not doing proper form. I was not going anywhere close to past parallel, and you know, I was doing a lot of bouncing, a lot of stopping for rest. So it didn't do me any good because my legs was still really, they was half the size that they are now. But even though I was going up and down a little bit with 450 pounds, it didn't really make a difference. You know, I was worried more about the amount of weight that people seen me backing off the rack with than actually building. You know, I would have had to be squatting 1,000 pounds to that way to build the legs that I have now, you know, with a lot less weight. You know, I think now I'm almost up to, I think it's 295 is what I do squats with. And, you know, my legs, like I say, that my legs are bigger than they've ever been. So I'm not only getting to build the legs I want, I'm getting to spare my spine, you know, without having to put that crushing weight on my back, you know, my spine and my knees, and just the danger of falling with it. So I'm not, you know, it's not that impressive, you know, 295, it's not that much to squat. I'm sure there's a lot of other people, especially powerlifters, that do a lot more, but you know, I'm after developing the muscle as much as possible. Not only having, you know, a bigger muscle, but a completely developed muscle, not one. I say that too. You know, when I was doing short squats, my legs looked totally different than they do now. They was, you know, had a big old butt with, my legs was more, it was thicker in the middle, like they really like rubbed together more. But not very much on the side, not very much on the knee. Hamstrings was lacking. But until I started doing really deep squats, that's when the whole thigh started, you know, started being developed. So the next one I got is form, and this has really been a big change for me. This is really a lot of the reason why I do such light weight, and that is when I'm doing squats, I stop at the bottom. I don't rest on my rest on my calves, you know, to where it's going to place strain on my ligaments of my knee. But I stop all the way, you know, still tight at the bottom. And then I don't stop when I come to the top. You'll likely see people when they, you know, after they finish a rep, they'll stop, catch a couple of breaths, go down, up, and back to the top, rest. I don't do that. But when I do come down at the bottom, I hold my breath when I, you know, forcefully hold my breath, push up, catch my breath when I get to the top, going down, hold my breath, come back up. This, you know, it creates kind of rigidness in your abdomen, and you know, you can just lift more weight doing that. You don't hold your breath the whole time, you'll pass out. But the reason I found that the stopping at the bottom and not stopping at the top, you know, not locking out, and a slow negative too. The reason behind that is I'm not using momentum coming from the bottom. You know, I'm not bouncing. So you don't need no momentum to build muscle. You need momentum to lift more weight. You know, powerlifting, that may play a role in powerlifting, I'm sure, or any Olympic lift. But it's, you know, not in bodybuilding. And then when I don't stop at the top, I'm keeping constant tension on the muscle. And that is something I have listened to over and over my whole life, keep constant tension on the muscle. And I never did use it, because every time I used it, I would get so tired so quick I couldn't use nearly as much weight. So, you know, that's what stopped me. I just hated using that light weight. But I have seen that if you use keep constant tension on the muscle, which just is what it's doing, not stopping at the top, it does fatigue a lot quicker, but you'll definitely see more growth in it. That's over the past year, drastic changes in my legs from just doing that. You know, stopping at the bottom, not stopping at the top, and you know, rock bottom squats made a really big difference. And I will say, you know, probably starting off, I look up, I pick a spot higher in front of me, and I focus on that spot when I'm doing squats. And it's worked better for me. But if you're, a lot of the reason I say don't look ahead. I know Lane Norton, he says, you know, look straight ahead, keep your eyes level, which I found out that I can use more weight doing that. But for a beginner, that if I've noticed, if you look straight ahead at yourself, you can see in your peripheral, you can see your lower body, and you tend to start focusing on that. When you go up, you want to see like your legs flexing. So until you have, and then that in itself starts you to start causing you to come forward, which is bad, you know, bad form. So I would say until you get the feeling of what good form feels like, I would say look up at something and focus on that, whatever spot on the wall or something, you know, whatever you can find higher in front of you, so you can't see your body, you know, until you know what good form feels like. Then you can start looking straight ahead, and you can feel it when you start coming forward. You know, you can look down at your legs without coming forward then. But and I'll say too, if your form starts to fail, then you went to failure. You don't have to go until you can't lift the weight, because your form is going to break down before you get to that point. So I say, if your form is failing, you went to failure. So if you know you could do one more rep, but you're going to have to bend forward, or you're going to have to bounce at the bottom, I'd say don't do it. So I was going to show you, I got a little bit of weight on here. I was going to show you how I see people typically squatting, and then the way that I have started squatting that's made the biggest difference in my leg growth. So that's got like 135 here, but what I see most people doing, you know, step off the squat rack just like anybody else. I'm usually doing it stepping back, but I want to face the camera. So what you see most people doing, they're kind of coming down to about here, and then resting, taking a breath, coming down, taking a breath. That's about how far they go down. And then they're locking their knees out, resting, thinking about the next rep. What I started doing, I go completely down, stop, come to the top, slow down, stop, come to the top. I never stop at the top. Never completely lock out. And in doing that, my thighs always have constant tension on them. And you'll see, I think the first time I did that way, I had to go down like 100 pounds on my squat. It was really kind of depressing, but when I went down that 100 pounds, and the next week I added 10 more pounds, and next week I added 10 more pounds, it started a new growth in my legs. And now I'm back up to, like I say, I was lifting, I think, like 350, not going all the way past parallel. So I'm, back up to nearly 300, past parallel, stopping at the bottom, not at the top. So I'm getting a lot more leg growth with a lot less weight. So the next, I would say, is the warm-up. This warm-up I use, but I can't take credit for it. I got it off of AST.com. I use their MaxOT principles. So I have to give them credit for this. I didn't come up with it. I do 5 warm-up sets. And the first set is half of the weight that you're going to use in your working set. So, say you're going to use 300 pounds. Well, your first set would be 150. Do that 12 times. Do your normal rest. Second warm-up set, 50% again. Do it 10 times. The third warm-up set, you do 70% of your working weight of the 300 pounds. Do that 6 times. Just like you're lifting it, good form, not real fast, even though you can do it fast. The fourth one is 80%, but only 3 times. You'll start feeling it on this one. And then your last warm-up set, fifth one, is 90% of your working weight only 1 time, and that's more or less like an acclimation set. And you'll see you'll be able to lift more weight by doing that, especially with that acclimation. That's getting all the muscles that's going to be firing while you're doing squats. That's getting them, firing in the right sequence and used to that weight. So after you do those 5 warm-up sets, you'll go into your working sets, whatever. And you don't do, pyramid up. If your first set should be to failure, all your sets to failure, or when your form starts to fail. So after your workout, I don't stretch my legs after a leg workout. It seems like every time I do that, I end up pulling my hamstring. I guess it's such a large muscle. It's because it's get under so much tension. I don't know what the reason is behind it, but I just don't do it. So I save my leg stretching for my cardio days, which is usually it's bicycle for me almost all the time. So my legs are good and warmed up, but they're not strained a whole lot. So I find out that's a good time to work on getting my hamstrings limber. And I try not to do my cardio day before legs if you can help it. Kind of give them a rest day. See the 7th on here, I said don't change anything unless you're not going up in weight. And this is going against popular belief or whatever. They always say muscle confusion and change your workout all the time. Well, I have, through finding out the hard way, the slow way, found out that it is best for me to keep the same workout as long as I'm going up in weight. If I'm doing squats and every week I can go up 1 rep or I can go up 5 pounds, then that tells me the workout's working. I'm gaining strength, so I don't change it, which is that too was a big game changer for me. Is I do not change. I have kept a leg workout, the same workout each week for over a year before whatever, say I done that workout with squats, then hack squat, then Roman deadlifts, and it was the hack squat that I started having trouble going up in weight with. So I went away from the hack squat for a while and still done my squats, and then instead of hack squat I done leg press, and because I was going up in squats, so then I started going up in leg press, and I was going up in Roman deadlift. So I kept it like that until I think squats started. I had started struggling with squats, so I switched that up to I think front squats, or I started doing Smith squats. But I keep it the same, and I'll give it 3 workouts. If I'm not, because sometimes your mind is not right, you're just tired, and so it's not always that your body's not growing. Sometimes you're not mentally capable, or what if you're sick or something, you're not physically capable to go up that week. So I'll give it a good 3 workouts. If I've not went up in weight, 3 workouts, and that 4th one it's going to be a different exercise. Something's going to change. But I don't change nothing until it stops working, because the goal is to go up in reps, go up in weight, and as long as you're doing that, then you're meeting the goal. If you're constantly changing it up, you have nothing to build on. It needs to be like stair steps, and 1 more rep, 5 more pounds. That doesn't sound like much, but if you do that consistently over a course of a year, you'll have went up like 50 pounds on whatever you're lifting, which a year in bodybuilding is nothing. So imagine 3 years of going up 50 pounds, 150 pounds more on your squat. I mean, that could be, you could look night and day different within 3 years of consistently doing that and going up that much in weight. So I say don't change anything unless you're not going up in weight. The 8th, I'd say, some people are not real crazy about bodybuilder workouts. I know the trend now is more or less like whole body workouts, and to work, I don't know what they'll do. They'll pick weight up off the floor, do the what they call a snatch, then extend it up, and they're saying they're working their whole body that way, and which is fine for function. If you're wanting to, I don't know, be able to run up Mount Everest, with a person on your back, then that's probably a good idea to do. But if you're wanting to shape the body, you have a look in your head that you're after, you're going to have to do a bodybuilder type workout. When I first started doing my first competition, I seen video of myself coming out on stage, and all I seen was a chest coming at me, And then when I'd leave, I would see a back leaving. My arms, my shoulders, my legs, all nothing stood out. They was all the chest and back was overshadowing everything else. So had I been doing like a full body workout, say I was just doing bench press all the time, my chest predominantly grows better than my arms. So I would have just continually grown a bigger and bigger chest while my arms would have stayed undersized. You know, they're still not impressive, but at least that's what the judges always told me. They're like, your symmetry is your best. Symmetry and leanness is like your best quality. You know, nothing kind of stands out. And the way I did that, I had to, for a solid year, I never went up in weight on chest, any chest workout. I never went up on weight in any back workout. But legs, arms, shoulders, I pushed to go up in weight, and it allowed the arms to, you know, everything else to grow out, while my chest and back pretty much stayed the same size. And I achieved that symmetry and the shape that I was looking for. You know, and the other, you know, where I was lacking in hamstrings, had I just done squats and not directly went after the hamstring, you know, used the bodybuilder type, isolating a muscle or focusing on one muscle group, the hamstrings would, you know, they would have been still underdeveloped compared to my thigh. So, you know, the body, if you're wanting to shape your body, you have a look at your wanting to get. You're going. I don't see any way of not doing, you know, workouts that focus on specific body parts. If form and health, or functionality and health is your main goal, or just being lean and healthy and not getting tired, you know, playing sports, then I say like the full body workouts, that's okay. But if you're after a look, you know, say if it's a woman wanting her butt to be bigger or stick out more, she's going to have to do something, basically deep squats, that focus on, you know, that glute muscle to build it out. So, you know, if guys wanting bigger arms, he's all chest and skinny arms, well, he's going to have to focus on more arm workouts. But anyhow, enough of that. I think you get the point. But I said this. I realize this is going to be a boring way of building legs or working out all together. It's really basic. It's really just kind of mundane, you know, just straight sets. Like I say, same workout sometimes for over a year. But I was always about, I didn't really care if it was boring. I cared about, was I accomplishing the goal that I was after. And so as long as I was doing that, an hour in the gym, doing something boring was not that big a deal, you know, to have, you know, the rest of my life being in the shape that I wanted to be in. Sometimes, you know, I guess it's what you make it. You know, I've had boring workouts, but doing the same thing next week that was really fun, you know, maybe just with friends or whatever, joking around while you're working out. So it's kind of what you make it, but it's not going to be you're jumping around, you know, doing endless amount of reps until you puke kind of thing. So to some people I can see where it's really boring, but I've never had any problem with the boring out, because I was always focused on accomplishing the goal that I was after. So as long as I was doing that, I was happy. Let's see. I said this technique isn't that impressive. And when I say that, it's because the technique I'm talking about, keeping the constant tension on the on the muscle. You know, you're not going to be lifting that much weight. It's not going to be very impressive in the gym. I'm sure it's not very impressive for me to be only lifting 295 on the squat. But you got to get over that. Kind of don't worry about what everybody else, if you got a guy that's half your size, unracking 400 pounds and going down 6 inches, it doesn't really matter. If you can't really get past that until you can, I would just suggest going into the gym maybe at slow times when nobody's in there, and doing what works over worrying about because really anybody that even the guys that know really how to work out, they know what's going on anyhow. They're watching somebody unrack a lot of weight just because they think they're getting ready to see somebody hit the ground. They think they're getting ready to see a show. So that's the main reason they're watching when they see something like that. But it's everything on my list. I can't think of nothing else at the moment, but like I say, I'm sure probably only gonna have 2 people watch the whole video, but because I don't know even how long it is right now, but I just encourage you to do the whole everything that I've mentioned here, because like I say, it's coming from a guy that struggles with legs but has found a way to build the legs that I want, even though my genetics I'm not predominantly destined to have big legs. So the people with average genetics, or those that build legs easily, they do this. They're gonna see twice the results that I've seen out of it. So I hope that helps somebody out, and good luck with it, and hopefully I can think of something else to make a video on. I've got 100 ideas in my mind, so that's it for right now.